Good evening, you're watching India Decides. Rupturing a tenuous calm between India and Pakistan has come news of a gruesome attack along the line of control. India says that Pakistani troops entered into Indian territory and killed 2 army jawans. One of them has been decapitated in what is being seen as the first major breach of a ceasefire between the two countries that has been in place over the past 9 years, with those 2 jawans being killed about 400 meters inside the line of control by Pakistani troops. For more details now, let's go straight across to Barkha Dutt and Zafar Iqbal, who's in Jammu, who've been tracking that story. Now, Barkha, that first initial statement that we saw from the Defence Ministry called this a significant escalation to what they say is a continuing series of ceasefire violations. But what has made this particularly gruesome is the details that we're getting about the fact that one of those 2 Indian jawans was actually decapitated and that his head might actually be missing.
That's right, Vasu. In fact, some of the details we're getting are so gruesome and so graphic that it's difficult to even decide what it is all right to put out there in the public domain. But after checking with a number of multiple sources at the highest levels of the Indian Army, we can share with you that statement from the Ministry of Defence, while calling it a significant escalation and a grave provocation, does not actually elaborate on the worst of it. The 2 Lance Nayaks who have been killed, Lance Nayak Hemraj and Lance Nayak Sudhakar, one of them, one of the bodies has been found in a mutilated condition. That body has been decapitated. The army is telling us, different sources telling us, that they're trying to investigate whether it's firearms or other weapons that have led to the decapitation. And worse still, Vasu, and this is difficult to put out there, but we must, the head of one of the bodies is missing. We do not know where the head of one of the bodies is. In fact, army sources are now telling us that while they have not really taken a firm assessment of what has happened to the second body, there are initial signs that the second body may have been mutilated as well. The army at this point is not saying very much more. The mood is extremely grim. They say that the DGMOs of both sides, the highest army officials who do get into the act when a crisis like this takes place, are in contact. But I'd just like to say one thing, that a ceasefire violation in itself is not a rare occurrence. There have been 10 major ceasefire violations among 70 minor ones over the last year alone. What sets this one apart is one, of course, the mutilation, which of course goes against the Geneva Convention. It goes against the rules of war. And the second is the Indian Army's assertion that this is not just a ceasefire violation, which usually manifests itself through an exchange of small arms fire or mortar fire. This is actually, according to the army, a violation of the line of control itself. They're saying it's Pakistan's regular troops who actually came inside Indian territory. So these are the details that we have from the army. Rupturing, as you said, not just a tenuous peace, but casting an entire question mark on who is trying to disrupt this dialogue process and what will be the strength of it, as the shadow of, for example, Captain Saurabh Kalia's torture case continues to hang over our 2 countries since 1999.
Right. Barkha, thanks very much indeed for that. Zafar, so as Barkha saying that this is unusual, this is an aggravation from the conventional violations of the ceasefire that we've seen, which manifest themselves in small arms or mortar fire. Because this is a decapitation of an Indian jawan, and also the fact that, as the statement itself says, that this is a group of regular soldiers of the Pakistani army that intruded across the line of control in Mendhar on the 8th of Jan, having taken advantage of thick fog and mist and in a firefight which actually led to the killing of these 2 Indian jawans.
Absolutely quite unprecedented, this incident, in the sense that the Pakistani army jawans entered into the Indian territory. They crossed the line of control and then attacked a party of Indian army. We've been seeing so many ceasefire violations over the years, but then most of the times the Pakistani army men fire from their posts or from their territory into the Indian territory at the Indian army, most of the times to facilitate infiltration. But this time clearly their target was very evident. They have entered into the Indian territory, targeted a party of Indian jawans, killing 2 soldiers and also also injuring a couple of them who have been shifted to Udhampur Command Hospital for treatment, also mutilating the body. They had all the time in the world to do that and to go back into their territory. So clearly a very big, very serious incident in the sense that that this has happened when they have taken cover of the forest and the dense fog. But what is important here, that there is a fence, there is a barrier at the line of control between India and Pakistan. That's a physical barrier. Nobody can cross that. Yes. But at many places, the fence is very much inside the Indian territory, hundreds of meters inside the territory, since the fence was erected at the time of height of Indo-Pak hostilities, when there was a lot of firing going on and shelling between the two countries. Yes. That's precisely the reason that that fence has been erected many meters, many hundred meters inside the Indian territory. So that points to the fact that this was a selected target by the Pakistani army. They've selected the place, and also a small party of Indian army, when they were moving from one bunker to another bunker, was targeted, and they after the action they went back into their territory. They went back to Pakistan. So clearly an unprecedented incident. And I can also share with you, after this incident there has been firing, we've been told by our sources, at different locations in the same area. We've been told at about 8 locations firing has been happening by both sides. There's been an exchange of fire between India and Pakistan at different posts on the line of control in the same area. So clearly tensions are very high. It's only escalated the situation even more. Srinivasan.
Right. Zafar, just very quickly before we let you go now, you've been talking about in your previous reports as well that there has been a continuous build-up of friction between both sides over the past month or so. Now, Pakistan claims that they have in fact been at the receiving end of a similar incursion by India just 2 days ago, where actually one of their own soldiers was killed, and that's why their shelling was in retaliation to that. India, of course, denying that. But clearly on the ground, from what you're hearing, and as this case seems to clearly indicate, is it very much a case of Pakistan being the aggressor?
Absolutely. In this case, it seems so. The incident you're talking about happened 2 days ago on Sunday, precisely when there was an exchange of ceasefire violation in the Uri sector. That's in Kashmir Valley. We've seen the photos of that place, of the village Charunda, which came under Pakistani shelling. There have been houses which are destroyed, damaged, and people had to come out in snow, in the bitter cold, out in the open. But this has happened at a different place. This has happened in Jammu province. There is 700 kilometers of line of control. So there is tension at various levels, at various places on the line of control. As I said earlier, they have perhaps selected the target and the place very meticulously, and that's perhaps led to the death of these 2 jawans.